Texas!
He's a 10.
I choose this family.
Hi guys, welcome to episode 53 of 911 Lone Star Roundup. I'm one of your hosts, Grace, and with me are my lovely co-hosts, Katie.
Hi guys.
And EJ.
Hey everyone.
And today we will be talking about season 3, episode 6 of 911 Lone Star, titled ATX Files, aka the 911 proper Halloween episode that we never got.
Honestly.
I'm excited because I love the alien stuff that was in here. I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah,
Me
it was
too.
cool.
We have a lot to talk about, as usual.
Yeah, we do.
Grab some popcorn and let's get talking.
Yeah, honestly, like I know like last episode we said this, like yeah, it's not like a lot, but like I feel like there'll be those few things that we will talk about for a good minute.
Right.
Because there was some great stuff in this episode, although it wasn't like episode 4 or like favorite quality, but it was still like very good and stuff.
It had like a couple of main storylines, much like 5. It had a couple of main storylines. It focused on them and it produced good content because it just focused so much on them.
Oh yeah, I kind of like yeah.
We're gonna be hard pressed to find another 4 at some point, but so like it's not really good to compare them as much. But when you're just looking at it as in basic episode quality, like this is a pretty good episode.
Yeah, like I mean, like it wasn't like a ton of things happening. Like in episode 4, they were trying to wrap things up. Where like I like the episodes that are like just a few things, just because like it kind of narrows in on each person in an episode, like and stuff, which is kind of I feel like the last steps in this episode definitely do that. Like I love how it's very heavily Tommy based and Judd based, which I love that. But I guess we should get to like the actual stuff. But I guess the episode starts with this young couple, like teenagers and stuff, arriving at the woods, and like so the scene's starting, like you see their faces and I'm just sitting there like, why did they look familiar? And so like yeah, it's funny, but yeah, so like then it's like Caleb and Brianna, and still I'm like, okay, why do they sound familiar? And it's not until like they start talking where I'm like, oh my god, this is like them from episode 104, the tornado, when he locks himself in the gun safe and leaves her out.
And then Grace tells the girl she needs to get a new boyfriend. She did not.
Oh no, okay, people are saying that, but I don't think that's true. I think that like they did break up because breakups were mentioned, but I think like she kept giving him chances, so they'd probably get back together for a second. He would act like a total wuss, a total idiot, and then they break up again. I think it was a pattern.
They're literally just on again, off again kind of thing. The funny thing is, before you guys said it, I didn't even think they looked familiar because I was just like, okay, young couple. It's been so long since I've seen 104 that I completely forgot. I could probably recognize the lady from the tornado, like from the car, but that's about it. Well, so you guys said it, I'm like, huh. See, I guess they do sort of look like them.
Yeah, like it was just funny because like the first time watching it, it took me a good minute to get it, but it was funny because we were watching, I was like, okay, EJ got it a lot quicker than I did.
I was like, oh, because I recognized the girl, and I think she's been in something else I've watched, so I recognized her, and I was like, oh, she was in the tornado episode, and then I connected the dots, and I was like, oh, so that
yeah, which that was a total surprise. Like I don't think anybody knew that, which I love. So basically, like they're like in the woods or whatever and stuff. They're gonna have like, I don't know, like a picnic at night. Like that's, I don't know, this is kind of creepy to me, but it's not supposed to be. But like I'd be creeped out if I was her, is what I'm saying. And then like they see these blue creatures in the woods, and you know what does Caleb do? Oh, he like gets back on the ATV and like leaves her, and I'm just like, dude, you're not helping yourself.
See, this is just right after he promised that he's not going to leave her behind again.
Yeah,
and I'm just here like
leaves her.
I mean, yes, anyone with sense would run, but also anyone with any sense would also help someone else, the person that they are with, escape.
Yeah, and it's like early, and then of course, like he's trying to get out there fast because he sees aliens.
Right. Little blue men.
Little blue men. And he crashes, of course, into a barbed wire fence, and this is when like after, you know, the 126 arrives, and of course after like the word alien is mentioned, Owen is very intrigued. Very much so. And I love that for him. Like, yes. And you know, they removed the barbed wire and stuff, and God, that's painful.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So,
okay.
like,
I grew up on a farm,
right.
and we used barbed wire for fencing. I have gotten stuck on that before. Not thankfully, never to anywhere close to this degree. But I've gotten stuck on it before. I've gotten punctured by it before. I have gotten some scars from it before. That shit is nasty. Okay.
Right.
And also, it rusts very easily, so it is a huge tetanus problem.
Right, that makes sense. Like, so to calm him down, or whatever, but I don't even think it was fully to calm him down. I think it was because Owen was intrigued. Owen starts asking him about the said aliens and stuff, which is super funny, but
and Owen knew the lingo, and he was like talking to him
God.
and like calming this kid down. The kid was like calming down when Owen started talking to him. That's like, I think it was a little bit of a shock for me that Owen was all into the alien stuff, because he seems like he's sometimes not into that kind of stuff.
See, I think a complete opposite. I think it makes total sense. Like, he would be into aliens. Like, come on now.
Oh yeah.
Like, I totally see it. And like, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Owen's just like, I feel like he's just that type of guy and stuff. But you know, like,
I mean, at first I just thought he was indulging him, and then I was like, he knows a lot about this.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Okay.
And of course, I like this part. Brianna's like, she asks if she can ride with them, and Owen's just like, of course. And then like, he Caleb's just like thinks they're not broken up. She's like, no, we're still broken up, but I don't abandon people. And it's like, yes, girl. Yes.
That okay, like solid. Also, girl, get a decent boyfriend. Come on.
Right. Take Grace's advice the first time.
Yeah, well,
wouldn't be in this problem.
I think she did, but then like, you know, things happened, and like she gave him a second chance. And I mean, like, the things he did were I think, like, yeah, they weren't great, but like they were so minuscule compared to like other problems you could have had. So it's not like the worst thing in the world, but it's also like, I think it's time for you to move on, girl.
Right. I mean, it's not like it's not like he was doing anything really damaging to like their relationship, like cheating or anything like that.
That's exactly.
It's just simply he's a scaredy cat.
Yeah,
he's a scaredy cat, and he will think about himself before he thinks of like his girlfriend, and that's probably the only real down thing about, you know, his being a scaredy cat is he thinks of himself and flat out abandons anyone he's with. So that's not the kind of thing where you're like, you shouldn't give a second chance. But if you're on like 6th chances, 7th chances by this point, you need to start rethinking things. Everybody has somebody who, you know, everyone who is interested in having somebody has their match. You two ain't matches, okay?
Yeah, that's not working. But I love like Mateo and Paul being like, oh, that's clever, and Judd being like, yeah, you coming down the kid with your alien BS, and Owen's being like, that's not BS, it's true. And Judd's just like, and Mateo's like, wait, you're not saying you believe in aliens? And Owen's like, who do you think built the pyramids? And Mateo's like, Egyptians. And Owen
I'm just seeing there like Egyptians. You know, they're like marveled at for being so advanced in their time that they were able to create these structures, right?
Yeah,
the Egyptian. This is just my entire thought process on
that's
hearing
mine
his
too.
Who built the pyramids. I'm just like,
yeah, which I feel like my level of alien believing is in par with Judd's, but not to that extent. Like, I do believe that they could exist or do exist, but I don't believe it is to the extent that some people believe, where people literally like Owen, I'm sorry, but like, it's just like there's some things where I'm like, okay, we gotta call BS on some things. It's not like fully in.
For me, it's like there's a galaxy out there, the whole universe full of things that we don't know about. And I think it's rather self-centered to consider that we are the only living creatures in the universe. That is not correct. I don't think there are little blue men with antennas running around out there.
Oh no.
And I don't think they come and beam up cows and all that shit. They probably don't know we exist any more than we know they exist, but I do think there must be some other form of life on planets that is sustainable for any living creature.
Yeah, the Earth is not the only life-sustaining planet. Period.
Oh yeah,
exactly. Even if it's just like a type of animal, like I do think there's life in other planets. Just, not the little blue men with antennas. Like,
oh yeah, or like
we're not in a Star Trek episode,
or like people that claim they see aliens and then you like melt when you see them. It's like that does not happen. I'm sorry, but that's bullshit. That's just like you watching too many scary movies and letting that go to your head.
Right.
I'm sorry. Yeah. That's just how I think.
That's pretty much, yeah.
That's pretty much like, yeah. So then we get to Judd and Grace's where they're having Wyatt for the weekend, which that's great and stuff. Like I was just like, okay, we're doing this. And
do we get an idea how long it's been since episode 5 by this point?
They haven't said, but I would say if we're moving this far, like, okay, after like the first meeting, they're not gonna let his mother's not gonna be like, oh yeah, you can stay with your dad. Like that's just not gonna happen. So I'd say maybe a few weeks, if not maybe like, I don't know, maybe a month, but like I don't think that much time has passed. But I also know that a mother's not gonna let a man she barely knows see your kid for a whole weekend.
Right.
I would think that probably a month at most, but I would think that there's been, they had the meeting with the mom. They would probably do a meeting with the mom and Wyatt and maybe do some like casual visits with Wyatt.
Yeah, exactly.
Before like committing to a whole weekend. And that would all be well assessed, seeing like Wyatt's comfort level, the mom's comfort level, Judd and Grace's comfort level, like all of that. Because they also, it's not just, they're looking after what Judd and Grace also have to look after their own child. So they need to make sure that, the sweet boy hasn't suddenly turned into like a gangster or something like that.
Right.
So
exactly.
It's all about building some trust and rapport. And obviously they have built some up by this point. And the whole weekend is another level of building trust. However, I will say that I don't think it's been that much time simply because there was still a lot of like, oh, what do you like to do conversation, like so very very preliminary to know questions.
So I'm leaning more towards like a couple weeks than a month, like definitely a month max, but like I'm leaning towards more like 2 or 3 weeks since like the first meeting.
My vibe was that it was just a few weeks because like maybe this was the first time alone that Wyatt has been with Judd and Grace, and like the last few times are probably been with the mom, so this was probably like the first time he's on his own, because when the kid's mom's around, it's not like he's gonna really talk completely candidly about everything,
right? Especially like get to know you stuff.
So on the other hand, they didn't know he was a vegan. And
I know.
And if they would have had other meals with him, they would have found that out. So that kind of also makes me think it's super low amount of time. Or like when they did meet him up, it was like in a public place.
I don't necessarily think that it was less time because of that fact. I think it was more so they didn't have meals.
There's
plenty you could
do. Like a restaurant kind of thing, and they didn't really take notice of what Wyatt was getting or something. I also think it didn't necessarily need to be as much time because Wyatt is almost an adult. At this point, we know that he is 17. It's not like they're sending off a 12-year-old, to go.
True.
Yeah.
So he's almost an adult. I think that does make a marked difference on how much, I guess, scanning would have to be done. Obviously, everyone has their own comfort levels and everything, but I just think I think there would have been a lot more time if you're younger.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. So Judd's like the second the scene starts, Judd's like the meat's dry or whatever, and how the dinner's ruined, and like whatever, and like Grace is just like she like gives him kind of a pep talk about the whole thing, and you know, like, because he's also like beating himself up about how he missed the first 17 years, and it's just like, well, that was your fault. You didn't know about him. He didn't know about you until recently and stuff. And then they show the dinner spread, and I'm just like, can they be my parents? Because that looks great.
Right?
Right.
Yeah.
Please.
And like I love when it actually starts, because it's just like Grace like saying how excited they are to have for the weekend or whatever, and then like this is like him like keep being like, yeah, Mrs. Ryder, and this is like Carlos all over again.
Yes.
And so we get to the actual meal part, and Judd mentions how the meat's a little dry and it's okay if like he wants to use barbecue sauce, and Wyatt's just like, okay, I don't need it, and Judd's just like all excited, and Wyatt's like, I mean the meat, and Judd's like, you don't eat meat, and Wyatt's just like shaking his head no, and Judd's like ever, and Wyatt's like no. It's funny because like Judd is the most country man ever, to the fact that his son does not eat meat like ever is just so baffling.
See, also, I think I was saying during our watching time that like we are having the two camps of Texans. We're having the Texans and we're having the Texans that don't act like Texans.
Right.
And we have this within one. And obviously that's a lot of stereotyping, but like, you know, yeah, the redneck Texan versus the city Texan.
Oh yeah, 100%. And stuff. And we're all like dying about that too. And then like Judd's like, oh well, you could have Grace's truffle mac, and Wyatt's like, I can't. I'm vegan actually. And like and it's just like funny because when we're watching this, it's like, okay, first, like, I don't eat meat, and it's like, oh, okay, and we're all like dying over that, and I'm like, oh wait, it gets better, and it's like, I'm vegan. And we're like, yeah,
because at first I was like, oh, he's vegan, and I'm like, oh, he could be vegetarian. Then he says I'm vegan. I'm like, oh, he's vegan.
Oh yeah.
I'm just gonna say, for Judge Shock, he handled it decently well.
You know, he was dying on side, like, oh god, this child doesn't eat meat. He's a vegan too.
What do I do with him?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what he was probably thinking. And then he like kind of mentions how the whole weekend is ruined, and like Grace is kind of like, oh, why don't you just move up what you have planned for the next day? Because first he has deer hunting planned. Okay, yep, that's not gonna work.
Yep, not happening.
Fishing.
Bass fishing. For Sunday. Yeah, that's not gonna work. And Judd is just like beside himself, and like Grace is just like, well, why don't you ask Wyatt like what he likes to do for fun? And it's like, yeah, what do you like to do for fun? And Wyatt's just like, skate. And Judd's just like, oh, I haven't been on a skateboard in so long, or ever. And it's like, yep. That sounds
when I was waiting for him to say was he figure skated or something, because I think that would have I think we would have seen a slight vein in Judd's forehead popping a little bit.
Yeah,
he has like any bad attitudes, but just simply because he's having way too many of his dreams right now.
Right.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And then like other things like changing for fun, or like making TikToks, and I guarantee Joe was like, oh, what is that?
And I'm just here like, oh no, because I don't like TikTok, so I'm just here like, oh no. But you know, it's teenagers, you know, young people, they do it a lot. So
right now.
Cool. Yeah, it's a thing. It's
very much so a thing.
I'm thinking, I shouldn't be surprised by it, but
well, it's just like, yeah, it's a whole thing. But then he's like, I like magic, and just like thinking, oh, like actual magic and stuff, and he even makes a comment about it. But then he's like,
and no, see, I thought that too.
I did too. I was like, that's cool. And then
as soon as he said it, I was like, oh, I'm thinking Magic the card game,
and that's what he was actually
that's
saying.
The geek in me.
See, I don't even like. I did like. I was literally like trying to piece together what he was talking about, and I was like, honestly, I have no idea what you mean.
Oh yeah, I never heard of a card game called Magic before, so like,
okay.
Have you heard of the Pokemon card game?
I have heard of that.
Okay, so Magic is like kind of like the Pokemon idea crossed with like Lord of the Rings.
Oh,
so like yes, so Magic the Gathering. So it's like fantasy, characters have powers, cards mean different things. So
see, I've never understood any of that. It's like literally speaking like another language to me. So yeah, and
shows but here's the other thing. I will give you guys credit. Magic came out in like the late 90s. So both y'all were really young or not even in the picture right now. So that's probably why you don't know.
Yeah. Oh,
those were things, and when I was in high school, those were a thing.
Oh yeah, I was like at most like maybe like anywhere from like, well, I was born in 95, so I was at least, depending when it came out, I was anywhere from like 3 to 5 years old,
and I wasn't born.
Exactly, right. So that's fair for you.
Yeah, I have no freaking clue.
Yeah.
Well, I just looked it up. It came out in 1993, but I know it didn't hit popularity until probably like later 90s. So,
okay.
Yeah. But now there's like tons of people that do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still haven't heard about it.
Yeah.
I feel like either, but
I feel like it's one of those things that's like common under like that group. But like it's not like the general population knows what it is, kind of thing.
Right. Yeah, and
like,
I feel bad for Judd too in this moment, because he's like has no idea what this kid's talking about, and like everything, like the kid is so opposite Judd. It's like, how is they share DNA?
This is the time when you're like, yeah, he was definitely raised by his mother.
Oh yeah, like
Judd would have had some input into all of this if he had tried.
Oh gosh, yeah.
If the kid had grown up in the country and not the city, he would have been a totally different kid, though. That's the thing. Your environment really does matter.
It does. Exactly. He would have still like had his own personality, his own interests and stuff, but the environment you were raised in definitely affects what you grow up to like.
Right.
Yeah.
Or not like. It depends on how much you get shoved down your throat.
Exactly.
So
Yeah. All I gotta say is I call him Cowboy Judd for a reason.
About
that. And Wyatt makes a comment like, I know I'm so weird, or I'm sorry I'm weird, and Judd's just like, weird, huh? How do you feel about aliens? And of course Wyatt loves the idea.
So I'm just like, oh, that's great.
Grace's face when he said that, I was like, she's like, now what now? Because she knows her husband.
She's just like, aliens?
You I mean, at this point he's gotta find something.
Yeah, and like it just happened that Owen brought it up here recently, so it's fresh on his mind.
Yeah,
literally. So then we get to Tommy at a grief group, and she's talking about how it's almost her and Charles' 15-year wedding anniversary, and like talking about like how she still expects him to come to the door and stuff like that. I'm just like, oh. And I love how when we were watching this, Grace said like, oh, finally somebody is going to like therapy, or at least some form of it. It's like finally somebody's doing something we've been talking about for so long,
or at least have it featured, because it's been mentioned some characters have gone, but there's never any real feature of it.
It's been like, oh, you're going to therapy, or I went to a therapist, but like, have they showed it to us all the time? No. Do we still want to see it? Of course we do. Just saying. I really like this. Like, this is kind of like almost
she needed
up. Well, not even that, but like we know she's been doing this, but like we're finally seeing it, because we really haven't seen this really much of this. So it's good to see it.
And doesn't she mention something about it's been almost 10 months since he passed away?
I think it might have been a little bit longer. I think it might have been like,
because she noticed that her anniversary was coming up. So I don't know, I was just thinking, so then we kind of know, because he died the night that TK and Carlos's place burned down, so we kind of have a time frame.
I think it might have been like, I forget the actual number, but I think it might have been a little bit longer than that, because I vaguely remember it.
I don't remember, honestly.
I forget what she said in the episode, but it was a little bit more from 10. That's all I know. And stuff. And then Tommy goes home, and the nanny, who I presume would be the nanny, was there with the girls, and Tommy quickly learns that they were watching the Ghostbusters, and now they're scared and they think their house is haunted. The lights flickering in a pattern in the house. And it's funny because one of them is just like, our house is haunted, and Tommy's just like, no, and stuff. But then like Tommy sees a light flicker in a pattern, and Buster is in her lap, which like finally we existence confirmed, because we haven't seen this cat since like
I think the episode when he was brought into the house.
Yeah.
202.
Yeah, 202.
Yeah, literally. Like, what? Yes, like happy that he's
And he's so beautiful. I love that cat.
I know. Like, I don't nobody hate me, but I don't really like cats, but like he's a very beautiful cat.
Yes.
You know what, to each their own, but yes, he's a beautiful cat.
Yeah, very, like there's no denying that. And then like Tommy sees the light flickering and like a whole Morse code, and she's like counting, and it's just like, okay, yeah, I know where this is going. Like, I don't know enough about Morse code, but I have seen it in several shows, so that's where my knowledge comes from.
Yeah, well, it ended up not being Morse code, but yeah.
Theme was still cool.
Yeah. Well, it was around that, like, that was kind of the feeling of it, and they kind of mentioned it like that, which is why I said it like that.
Right.
And of course, next, Judd goes to Owen for advice, which some people like to complain about this, but like, okay, who else is Judd gonna go to for advice? Owen's the only father on the show.
Also, he's the only one with an interest in aliens.
Yeah.
Which is why he's going.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, and Judd's not gonna go to Billy for advice.
Billy doesn't have children. Billy can hardly like parent himself.
Well, I didn't get the vibe that Judd was going to Owen for advice on kids. I think he was just going on advice for information about the aliens.
Yeah,
per se, which I think is what people were like, why would you go to Owen for advice on your kids? Well, Judd wasn't going for that. And I think Judd kind of even said that in the conversation. He's like, well, I ain't really here about that per se, but I'm here about aliens.
I think it was a little bit of both. Like, I don't think it's like not to shut down that's not, like, we shouldn't shut down that it's not, because I think he didn't necessarily want like spoken advice, but he definitely wanted to like put it out there and be like, kind of talk about it, I guess.
Yeah, aside from Tommy and Grace, this first person that he shared it with.
Well, technically he didn't share it, Tommy Grace did, so that wasn't really his say.
True.
So this is like the first time him telling somebody without it being like a whole like you already knowing kind of thing.
Which also shows that there hasn't been this much time, because seriously, trying to keep anything from family is hard, and the Firehouse family is just a complete bunch of gossips. I am sure of that. So
yeah, like one of my friends always says, and I know I've mentioned this before, but it's so true, the Firehouse is like more gossip than a nail salon. That always cracks me up every time I say it, but it's so true.
I love it. But it is so true.
But like I love like Jen walking in, and he's just like, I'm sorry, am I interrupting you making soup? And Owen just like, it's 8 a.m. I'm not a psychopath. But he's making a golden milk based turmeric superfood thingy, and it's just like, no, you're a psychopath. I'm sorry, but you're a psychopath.
That's one way of thinking about it.
It's just like, okay, like it's Owen, like we can't really expect anything less from him. But like I was just like, that like turmeric is just like, no, it's gross.
Very odd seasoning, and I get the point because it burns. There are health properties to it, but
I don't care.
Yeah.
Which right there, that seems like enough to get Owen to do anything with that health properties.
True. Yeah, literally. But Judd tells him that he has a son, and Owen's just like, and Judd's like, as in a masculine child.
He's like, please tell me I heard that right.
Yeah, and then Owen's just like, as in a second child other than your newborn baby daughter, and Judd's just like, actually, Charlie, Charlie's my second because Wyatt preceded her by about 17 years. And Owen's like, can I ask how Grace is taking this? And Judge just like saying how it was a turn at first, but she's living up to her name. And I'm like, I love that.
Yeah.
Really, the love and respect he has for Grace. I love it.
Right.
Yeah. And like Owen is just like, well, like Judd kind of sits down and Owen's like, well, I'm willing to share any knowledge I have of raising a young man, and just like telling him that he's here about aliens and wondering if Owen could take him and Wyatt on an alien excursion because he read about it on the internet, which I mean, yep, that sounds about right. He researched it before he actually went to Owen. Yep, that makes sense.
Oh
Right.
yeah.
Because he's like, do I really want to get myself into this?
Yeah.
I think he also didn't want to look like a complete idiot in his mind.
No.
He didn't want to look
Yeah.
like a complete idiot.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I love that. Like, I really miss like that. I really enjoyed their scenes. So seeing like this, I really loved it. And I had felt like a little bit. So I really liked it.
Oh yeah. Same here.
Yeah. This next scene though, so the current Dara from season 1 is back, which we kind of knew, which was cool. And so she like has like this woman in there who's apparently getting divorced or whatever, and a woman like thinks she's cursed or whatever, and the current Dara
feels like there's a life force inside of her sucking her drink.
Oh my god, this scene is
Yeah.
no, did
This
not
brought back memories of whatever the full moon episode was in season 1 of
107, I think it was.
Yeah.
When the guy had a tapeworm coming out of his ass.
See, I don't remember this that well, so when we're talking about this, I'm like, don't remember.
You blocked it out.
Probably. I also haven't watched that episode in a really long time, so that also is a thing.
See, I just remember it because I always found it really funny. But also like I do not want to be that guy.
Nobody wants to be that guy.
Off of what,
the only thing I remember about that episode, well, the few things I remember is Buck being very fascinated by the tapeworm.
Yes.
All the pregnant women going into labor at all the same times. And then the stuff that I just absolutely want to forget that I will not even mention.
Well, it was so funny because Bobby was like totally grossed out by the tapeworm, and Buck was so fascinated. Yet, and Bobby's like, or no, Buck said to Bobby something along the lines of, "You can deliver a baby, and that's not gross, but this grosses you out."
Honestly,
yes, Buck.
Yes.
That's
totally different.
But yeah,
it's very different.
So this lady starts having these things come out of her mouth and her nose. So gross.
It was so gross. Like,
oh my gosh.
See, I could literally see as much blood and guts as there are, and I wouldn't think that's gross. But seeing this, I was just like, okay, that's disgusting. Like, I'm honestly gagging. Like, this is nasty.
See, like, for me, it wasn't disgusting, but I was sitting here and I was just like, okay, her sinuses have got a hurting after that.
Yeah.
Oh, I can.
Well, let's put it this way: I won't be eating any udon noodles for a while.
Oh. Thanks, that image. Thank you.
You can't do it.
Just thinking of so the lady, and the one thing I really thought was funny, and I also love Tommy's response, is the lady saying how she eats clean, and I'm just like, okay, this is when I'm like, okay, I roll. Because it's like, really, and Tommy's just like, well, clean and organic aren't the same thing.
Yep.
It's like,
it's true.
You're obviously not washing your vegetables if you have these worm looking whatever those were coming out of your like nose and mouth.
Yeah
It also kind of reminds
them
me
have built up over this time. This will not happen if you forget to clean your vegetables like once or twice. Okay,
right.
This is over a period of time, because this was not just a couple either. There were a lot.
And then like, so they like do whatever and stuff, and you know, TK like Tommy says that they have to like save her pathology, and I just like what TK says, and he's like, and for my nightmares, and I'm like, okay, that's me. I don't want to like I don't want to think about this ever. And when they're going to leave, the current era like says, "Excuse me" to Tommy, and she kind of mentions how somebody's trying to get in contact with her, and it's just like, okay, we all know where this is going.
Oh yeah.
And stuff, but to be continued. Yeah. So we get to the whole alien hunting, alien excursion, whatever you want to call it, with Judd Wyatt and Owen. And Judd is totally out of his element.
Completely and utterly.
Because he's just like, Owen's like, oh, this seems like a good observation post, and Judd's like, so we can put our blankets down here. And Owen's just like, yeah.
Yes, that's it.
Oh yeah. And then like I really like this because Judd was just asking Wyatt if he has a girlfriend back in Waco, and Wyatt's just like, oh no, not really. And just like, really? I thought you would be beating them back by a stick by now. I mean, unless you're not into girls, if you're into guys, ain't nothing wrong with that. And I was like, we love that.
I was glad because part of me was waiting for like, the frosting on the cake to be that like he was gay or something, because we know Judd would be fine with that because he works perfectly well with TK and he's friendly with Carlos. We know he's perfectly fine with that. But I was sort of just waiting.
Yeah, I feel like that would have been so like, I feel like that would have been a good storyline. Like, it's fine either way. Like, it's not like it really matters, but it would have been a good storyline just because like Judd and TK, I feel like that would have been like cool to see like Judd like go to TK, and now I'm just like, I wanted that
opportunity.
Yeah, it's definitely a missed opportunity, but whatever.
But I just love that we see Judd confirming that he's okay with if he was gay, or
which this is actually more important.
Yeah,
people can be perfectly supportive of other people being gay, but when they're kids, it becomes a different thing.
Exactly.
Which
so
I have
him
no
showing
doubt.
That's not just, it's not just, he works with a gay guy and he's perfectly fine. Like if his kid was gay, he'd be fine with it.
Yeah. So like none of us had any doubts about that.
Definitely not.
No doubts at all. Like we all know how he is. Like he hasn't cared about, none of anybody like has cared about anything like that ever. Which goes to show like how they are. But I love Owen and Wyatt bonding over like veganism, basically. Like just like he's a vegan, and Owen's like, I try to be vegan once, but too many beans or something like that.
To be honest, I thought he was because of the whole veggie burger thing from the tornado episode.
Okay,
I thought he was vegan.
I didn't think he was vegan. I just thought he dabbled in it a lot, which seems to be like just the vibe.
That's fair.
And stuff. Like I feel like he's a health nut, so I feel like a lot of health nuts eat vegan like some of the time, or at least 80% of the time, and like just the snacks he eats and just the things, like not all the things he eats are definitely like vegan, but like he's definitely like an 80% vegan. I'm just gonna put that out there.
He's definitely on the health side of stuff.
Yeah, I know. Like but I liked how it seemed like Owen and Wyatt were able to like kind of bond like right off the bat. Like it's like sometimes it's like Judd's odd one out, but I kind of like the like to see this side, because it's like this episode I feel like we're not seeing Wyatt is the awkward teen. We're seeing him like warm up to Judd and also like his surroundings. So it was really cool to see.
We're seeing that he's his own person.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which is like really important, because so far we've just seen, the slightly more awkward teen, but really he was just awkward because the entire situation.
Like if any of us were in this situation, it'd be hella awkward. But I don't know, like we just get such a good view on Wyatt this episode, which I love. Like that's probably my favorite part of this episode, is that fact of it.
Yeah.
And stuff. And then we see Tommy go back to the current era, which I love. And she's just like, I was expecting you. And it's just like, yeah, clearly, like you read minds and that kind of stuff.
Whatever it is the cuarenteros do.
Yeah, I'm very intrigued, like mediums, current areas, like all that kind of stuff. Like that really intrigues me. Like it's so intriguing to me. So I always like finding out stuff about it. It's like very interesting and
Agreed.
stuff. And like Tommy's talking about the light flickering in her house and the pattern, the 143 pattern and stuff, which we find out is beeper code for I love you, which
I knew because we used to use that all the time when I was in school. Not even for beepers, but that would be like if we were gonna say, like we'd even say it out loud, like 143. Say yeah. So as soon as she said that, I'm like, I know what that means. I love you. Because the numbers represent the letters in each word.
Yeah, that's way before Grace of that is time.
Yep. That was way before you guys.
So we were just like,
so back then we had cell phones that you couldn't text on.
Yeah, see, oh my god,
we didn't know those existed.
Yeah, okay. No, well, not exactly.
I feel like this entire I'm just gonna say I feel like this entire episode is trying to like I don't know, I feel like it's trying to make EJ feel old, but you're not
we're not
old.
It's definitely not our intention, guys.
No, I know.
Which you know that we're just like there's certain things that we did not even like remotely like grow up with. Let me just paint this picture for you. My parents didn't have cell phones until they were like in their like I would say like mid 30s. So I pretty much went like a little bit of my life, like probably like 10ish years of my life with like, you know, only having a landline. Because that's how it was. Like most people like didn't have cell phones. People don't really start getting cell phones like maybe after like 20, I don't know, like 2000. I don't even know what year did it. It's just funny, but yeah. And I love how this whole conversation goes. Like it doesn't seem as crazy as when Michelle went to her, because this is the same one.
Burning $100 bill and taking a bath in sage was a little odd.
A little odd.
This
seems more like reasonable, I guess. But she tells Tommy to like basically make a dinner and to like, you know, make his favorite meal and like talk to him and like treat it like any other anniversary, which honestly I feel like that's kind of like a sweet idea. Like I like that.
Yeah, and I feel like in some ways this would almost be what a counselor would tell her to do, or at least to acknowledge it in some way. And so if making a meal and, you know, talking to him is acknowledging their anniversary, because it's always going to be a part of her.
Right.
It's not like she can just pretend it's another day.
Right.
Exactly. Like some people do that, but like it doesn't work for everyone and stuff.
It all depends on how people agree.
Exactly. Because we all do it differently.
Yep.
And so then back to you know, the whole alien thing, and Owen and Wyatt are like talking and Judd's just waking up, and it's just like Judd being like, oh, like thinking he's probably thinking like, oh, you're still talking.
I thought it would be skipped.
And then like, so this is where things get I guess darker, because Judd's like, oh, I'm gonna go water a cactus, or it is total like, oh, that's a country of you. But like and so then he like finds a dead body and stuff, and with all those flies, you know it's a dead body, because like you don't even have to see the whole thing, you could just hear the buzzing, and that's what gives it off. And so Owen has to get over there with the Guyver thingy, and
the
it's like
Geiger counter.
Yeah, I don't know these things. Okay.
It measures. I think it was the guy, like the body they found looked like it had been burned or something. So Judd called and Owen bring over the Geiger counter to check it out, because it seemed like it was burned, and usually burns come from radiation.
Yeah.
It was a hog, wasn't it though? I thought it was a hog.
I did it first, but they like acted like it was a dead body. That's the thing. Because they had
I thought there would have been a lot more drastic a reaction if there had been like an actual like human body.
You're right, because they ended up finding
no, because they found the hog first,
right?
But they didn't really, and then they found the guy next when they went to the house.
Oh, no. See, I was referring to the hog. I thought we were still on the hog end of things, not they found the cabin end of things. Yes, then they found a human body.
Yeah, but that's like after. But I love Judd calling 911 and getting Grace and be like, "Hey, babe, we got a problem." Like that's just like so natural.
Yeah, we got a problem. I'm surprised he didn't say, "Austin, we have a problem," just to reference of 110.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean that wouldn't have made any sense, but it would have been funny just for our take on it, I guess.
Yeah, so they had found the hog, and he was like covered in burns from something or sick, so he had died. And so Owen brought the Geiger counter, so it's super high radiation, which was weird. So then when they called 911, I loved how like Tommy, Nancy, and TK show up in hazmat suits.
Yeah.
Like, yes.
And then also, they have to be scanned for radiation.
Yeah. And I also like in the previous scene with Judd, when he first called at them, he yelled for Owen, and then like Wyatt was going to come over, and then Judd's like, "No, Wyatt, you stay there." So it was obvious, I think, then to Owen even that like something was really wrong.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Because that's not something you want anyone to see if you can help it. Yeah. Especially not a kid.
Exactly. Like nobody wants to see that. So like you definitely shouldn't let Wyatt see that. But then after like the 911 call and Tommy, TK, and Nancy come out, after that, like Grace calls Judd, like personally, and they kind of figure out that like others have to be hurt. And there's only 3 residents basically in that proximity of where this is all happening. So they have to go check them out. And then of course I think they find the guy outside.
Yeah, the guy's outside dead.
And he's dead. The second you hear those flies.
You don't get deader than that.
I know they had to check him just for like certainty purposes.
Yeah.
But I was just like, oh yeah, he's been dead. He's not only dead, he has to have been dead for at least hours.
Yeah, and thankfully, like they realize there's probably more radiation, so they like Owen and Judd and Tommy are wearing hazmat suits.
Yeah, well, Owen has them give them like hazmat suits before they even get to this point, because they already know by like what they found when they were in the woods that it has to be like they know how bad it is. So,
and I love when the first like there TK's like are you sure you're okay, Dad? I like no. That's like as a worried son, he's like checking over his dad.
Yeah. Definitely worried, but not overly worried. It's just like, are you sure? Are you okay?
He's just like, well, you're standing. I can see that, but like, are you sure you're okay?
Exactly. And then so they like go to the house or whatever, and then there's this lady inside, and she also does not look okay. I mean, do any of these people look okay? No.
But she's still alive.
She's alive,
which is over the other.
Yeah, which is good for the stuff that we know is gonna happen and stuff. But she obviously like has burns on her skin, and like Tommy figures she has like radiation poisoning and stuff like that. And Tommy's just like, that can kill you in a few days. And Owen's like, well, how did it all end up here? And so of course they show like, you know, a little flashback 4 days earlier. These people who like are artists or whatever, and the guy Jasper comes home with medical stuff from an old hospital, so I assume it's like an abandoned hospital, because like how else would you get this stuff? And they have this one thing, which is this thing that has radiation in it, and they are not the sharpest people, because he literally breaks it open and this powder stuff comes out, which I think they mentioned was like sodium chloride. And
I think it was sodium chloride.
You don't mess with it.
Oh yeah.
I think it was some sort of radiation. I don't think it was sodium chloride though. I want to say it was cesium, but it could have been something different.
I know they said sodium something.
Yeah.
But I don't know like the actual.
And then,
I do not remember.
Yeah. And then it was funny because the tubing had like a little window into it, and you could see like it like was glowing blue, which was what attracted them to it.
Of course.
And I'm just like,
what idiots!
Idiots.
They were idiots.
They put it all over their skin.
Oh my god, like okay, this is a random white powder that looks like some form of chemical. Anybody with at least one brain cell could tell that.
Yeah.
And they put it all over their skin. Like that is not good.
They're not concerned by the fact that it makes them glow blue.
Yeah.
And then they decide to put it in a little like charm to sell at one of their little markets. Oh my god.
Yeah,
and this is the moment they showed that I'm like, oh,
this is not good.
Yeah, this is not good. Like, no. And then of course this woman buys this, and so like,
it's a birthday present for her mother's birthday.
Yeah.
So you already know it's not just going to her. This is going to contaminate more people within a limited number of days.
Yeah, and the fact that like, so we get back to this woman, and she's just like saying credit cards. So if they of course see like the credit card number and like a scribble on a receipt, and so they kind of, you know, like Judd calls Grace and says that they have a partial credit card number, and they have to find out who it is because that could be like, you know,
she could be in danger.
So of course Grace does like what any reasonable person does, and she calls like the credit card company. Of course they won't give her any of the information, so she threatens to make a TikTok about it, which yes, that's what you do.
Yeah.
And of course, like after that, the supervisor comes on the phone and she mentions like they're all just like, oh well, we need the PIN number, and she's like, I don't have that, I'm not the card holder, this is 911. Like, and
the only numbers you need to worry about is 911.
Exactly.
This is not just, you know, they're giving her a hard time. She also had to be on hold for a long time.
Oh gosh, yeah, and the music and the
she's like, don't put me on hold. You put me on hold.
I would be mad too, and it's just like, this is life or death. Like this isn't funny. Like, but like I love, like once you mention social media, people have a totally other like perspective. They're just like, oh yeah, we'll get that for you right away. Yes, you will. That
can destroy people's careers.
Yeah.
Like, and usually I'd be like, okay, that's a little drastic. In this case, I don't think so.
When it comes to like things like this, like sometimes honestly that's what you got to do to get your point across. And I thought it
was funny because like Grace, the guy was first telling Grace, well, we can't give the information to you because you're not the card holder, blah blah blah. And he's like, and she's like, you do realize that you're on a recorded line? He's like, oh yes, all of our calls are recorded for quality assurance or something like that. And Grace is like, no, we're recording you, and if you're entering an investigation, and she was just going in on this guy. She's like, I want to talk to your supervisor. And then she went through the same thing with the other person. I was like, dude, yo.
I get that finally, like the regular guy may have not been able to do it because he would not want to lose his job over that. But like the supervisor is another issue.
Right. And then the supervisor is just like unhelpful. And then finally Grace goes in the TikTok spiel, and I'm like, go Grace.
I stand for that. Like,
oh yeah, I love Grace. And then like finally they're like, it's this gal's name. So finally.
And it's like, she's like, thank you, goodbye.
Yeah, like exactly. And then of course, like they're able to show up and collect the items safely. And
this older lady's at her birthday party with all of her family around opening presents, and that was the last one she was about to open.
Honestly, good thing it was the last thing she opened, because she might not be okay if that wasn't the last one.
Right, exactly.
Oh yes. Honestly, they need to take a closer look at the woman who bought it though, because she was exposed to it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because she picked it up to begin with. And that little glass vial is not going to be enough to stop the radiation. So
no, like I feel like they checked out everyone there, made sure they were okay, and that kind of stuff. But like, yeah, that was definitely interesting. Like this episode, like that aspect of this episode definitely took a different turn. Like I was like, I don't really know where they're going with this supposed alien thing. And it was definitely interesting, and I don't know, like it was so, very interesting.
Yeah. So the two people who they'd cover themselves in this powder and had gone out that night, that the kids saw them and they thought it was aliens, but it was just these two weird people in this blue powder.
And by this point, they're already affected by the better, because they're kind of walking around in a daze. They don't really know what's happening. So guys, if you find something sealed, don't play with it.
I know, right?
It's sealed for a reason.
Especially when you don't know what it is. It's one thing if you know what's in there and you're trying to get it out, but when it's something like that, you don't mess around with it.
It's kind of like one of those things where don't open Pandora's box because you can never get it back in.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Just like,
boy.
Guys, use your common sense. You have some.
Yep.
And don't do that.
Yeah.
Because as this thing shows, something like that can affect a lot more people than you. And already someone lost their life to it. Not to mention a bunch of animals.
Yeah. Well, and not only that, like it goes to show like that's what patient zero is, and it's how easy it could spread when you don't know.
Yeah.
So thankfully they were able to catch it before too many more people were exposed to it.
Yeah. Definitely. And then of course we get back to like Jed and Grace's, and Wyatt and Grace are playing a video game. And can we
Why did I love that so much though?
Yeah.
Can we talk about how that's the same video game that Buck and Chris play? Same exact one.
Yes.
Like, yes.
That must be like one of the few games they have a license to do that with.
Well, I don't even know what game that is, but I'm like, not gonna lie, I want to know if it's like, it could also like, I have no idea. Like, because like some shows will like use games that aren't even like an actual video game. Who knows? Yeah. It could be
because
like
they have
legitimate.
all that licensing issue to do. So sometimes they'll make something up for the fun of it.
Yeah, that's what a lot of shows do, because like it's so like it's already like a pain, but we love it either way, fake or not. And like so Jed gets home and like he thinks how he ruined like the whole weekend, and like Wyatt just like saying how much fun he had, and I'm just like, and like I think Grace is just like, see, he had fun.
Yeah, and Jed's like being all pessimistic. Oh, I ruined the weekend. She's like,
yeah.
And I think Wyatt said something like, this was like one of the best weekends of I've ever had, and some like he's always wanted to spend it with his dad. So that he got to do it finally.
That makes it was like, because like I feel like in the beginning of the episode with the whole like steak thing, and then this thing, I feel like Jed was more so getting like down on himself because I feel like he has such high standards because he wants it to be perfect. Right. It's like all that matters is if Wyatt had fun and that like it was a good weekend, which it was. So good job.
And he kept him safe too, because for every period they were in an unsafe situation.
Right.
But exactly. he thought ahead, kept him safe, and really that's all you need to do.
Yeah. And then like Jed's like, oh well, next time we'll go to Uncle Ketch's ranch. The sunsets there are too pretty for postcards.
Yeah. That's safe.
Yes, that's safe.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was
like, some things aren't always safe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he mentions because Wyatt's like, oh, what is Uncle Cash like? And just like saying how he's a drunk and like stuff. And I'm like, yep, that sounds about right.
I love how Wyatt just listens to that and he's kind of like, huh, okay. Like he's pretty unfazed.
Yeah, which I love. Yeah, and it's like cool to see like their like relationship forming and stuff. And like honestly, last episode I was not really happy about the storyline, but honestly after seeing this episode I'm like, okay, if this ends up being like legit, I'll be okay with it. Like I really like what's coming.
The same. I think I'm still not thrilled about the whole timing issue of it, but I think other than that, they're handling it pretty well.
Oh yeah, like I think it's developing well is the thing. And like yeah, it's not ideal and nobody asked for this, but like honestly, I don't know. I'm excited to see like where it goes and stuff.
There are a million bad ways to handle it, and so far they have not done it. Other than time. That's it. The timing is the one issue I had from the beginning. And I will still complain about that, but other than that, you know what?
Agreed.
I'm impressed.
Yeah,
and I like Wyatt is the thing. They're not
I
making
do
him
too.
like a troubled kid or something. They're not making a whole drastic
which I like,
out of it.
Because they could have made something super dramatic and made him like this troubled like kid who's just here to cause trouble and like do some shady stuff, but it doesn't seem like Well, they're not obviously doing that, but like it seems good. So yeah, really I'm starting to like kind of like it. But then we kind of end off with Tommy cooking dinner for Charles. And like she's like kind of like talking to him, and she's kind of like, I don't know, this is like everything we didn't get in the in-between seasons. Like we didn't really get the grief, which now we're kind of getting. And she's like asking him if he suffered, and it's like, okay, this is sad, like, but like I get it. And then she needs like a sign, so she asks him like, oh, if you're here, like show me a sign and stuff. And she's like asking him to make like the lights flicker, but we kind of learn in a previous scene that the reason why the lights are flickering was because a critter was nibbling at the wiring.
A mouse.
Yeah, a mouse, which yeah, that makes sense, because then Tommy looks at Buster, because Buster's just like on the couch purring, and she looks at him and she's like, I blame you. You couldn't catch one lousy mouse. And I'm like, honestly, for a cat, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Like people are like honestly happy when their cats don't do that, because I've had friends that have cats and their cats would literally bring mice to their beds.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
I had a cat once that did that. Not to my bed. Thankfully, my mom caught it before it came in too far in the house. But our cat just brought a live mouse and just dropped it off at her feet.
See, there was a mouse in my house when I was probably like 10, and my mom flipped out for like reason. Like, obviously, you don't want a mouse in your house. But yeah, like, no.
Just don't give it a cookie because it'll want some milk.
Yes, I love that. I love those books.
Same.
My sister had a cat. Each of us 4 girls had a cat growing up, and my next up sister's cat would catch mice and put them on her pillow while she was sleeping.
Oh gosh. Ugh.
And they were already dead. So
like, this is why I'm a dog person, guys. I'm sorry, but like, it honestly is.
See, the thing with me and cats and hunting and stuff, I just don't like how cats play with their prey. So I will be perfectly happy taking a cat that's not mouse, rather than have to watch it play with its prey, or come across the bodies, like step on the bodies or wake up to them or something like that. Ugh. You know what? I will take a lazy cat. I do not care.
Oh yeah, 100%. So.
I had a cat once that didn't know how to meow.
That's funny.
Yeah,
it went so funny.
That's about as much as he could get out. It's like his mother never taught him how to meow.
This particular cat, like you.
That's so funny.
Oh, pet adventures, you know.
Okay, so I have I don't know what I would call this, maybe a proposition. Can we get Buttercup and Buster meeting?
Oh gosh.
Oh my goodness.
That would be so cute.
That would be cute.
Will Buttercup be one of those dogs that doesn't like cats? Will Buster be one of those cats that just doesn't like dogs?
Dun, dun, dun.
Can we like, I don't know. Can we like not go for the stereotype? Because I feel like that's such a stereotype that cats and dogs hate each other.
Well, see, I grew up and the dogs and cats hated each other.
I know, but like
that's how I grew up.
It happens, but it's such a stereotype.
Yeah, I grew up with 2 dogs and 4 cats just inside the house, and they did not get on. So, like, I'm used to that, but also at the same time, like, the dog we have currently and the cat we have currently, because we just have one of each left. Right. The dog is a little too fascinated with the cat, but they get on well enough.
Yeah, see, I've always just had a dog since, like, my mom's allergic, and honestly, half of us are allergic to cats, so only really had dogs. So honestly, our dogs have, the only time they've really seen a cat is at the vet, and I remember one of our dogs seeing a cat and be like, what's that? Very fascinated. Yeah, honestly. Yeah, that's funny.
I think one of my cats and because we had a puppy at the time, and the cat, I kid you not, would like walk past the kitchen and just put his nose up at the dog, like, I'm out here and you're in there. So for a while we were puppy, potty training. We kept our dog in the kitchen area.
That is a cat. That is totally
less carpeting, but yeah, the cat had his like, my house. running around, and he'd just like stop and stare at the dog, and the dog would just go crazy barking at him.
Yeah, that's funny.
Anyways, back to Lone Star.
Back to Lone Star.
Side tangent. So yeah, and then like she blows the candles out, but then they relight, and it's like, okay, that there's a sign. And it was funny because TJ and I were talking about this. And he was like, okay, it definitely like spooked me when the lights relit, and I'm like, yeah, same. Like
I suspected it would happen.
Yeah, as soon as she blew them out, I expected them to relight.
Yeah, it is like, I don't know, like stuff that is a little spooky, but like it was sweet too, but it was also very spooky.
See, I was expecting, because she was asking for like a sign via the light turning or something, and then after that, when that didn't happen, was when she made the comment to Buster, if you couldn't catch one mouse in house. But then so I was like, okay, I was actually kind of glad the lights didn't flicker, because I felt like that'd just be super cliche and almost not very believable. But when she blew out the candles, I was like, oh, that might be another thing. And she turned around and they were relit. I'm like, they didn't obsess over that too much, but
which is why I liked.
I loved it.
Yeah, because like I feel like at that point we're kind of over the lights. Like, we know it's been fixed, so we know it's not actually like him communicating. It's just like an electrical issue. So I feel like the lights is the real sign. So that was more meaningful.
So apparently the mouse really loved her.
Right.
Yeah, apparently. I did like this episode. Like, I like every episode. They can't do a bad episode. I always say that. But
and please never prove us wrong.
Yeah, because
I like throw that in there too.
Okay, yeah, but I do like think that, and I don't know. I liked like the Wyatt stuff. I liked the Tommy stuff. And I was like, would I have loved a Valentine's episode? Of course.
Yeah.
But this was cool to see, especially after Ghost Stories was such a shit episode. Sorry,
Right.
not one, but it's true. We all know it.
Oh no, it was not the best. They let down on that one. So even though I would have loved this like being more on point with what holiday was around. So yes, Valentine's would have been lovely. And they also could have made a point with Tommy and Charles in that one too, because Valentine's Day. Yes, it's quite commercial, but it's also a very romantic one.
Right.
So they could have made a point there too. But you know what? I'll take it. I'm happy with what it did.
Yeah, I thought it was a good episode. I like the alien aspect of it, just the Owen, finding out Owen likes aliens and believes in them, which I thought was pretty cool. I love the original Roswell, so that like I love the alien kind of storylines. I did like the Wyatt storyline. I thought it was a little funny and definitely some stereotypes in there, but I was glad to see Judd was at least making an effort and not trying to like hide from it. I would have loved to seen some more TK and Carlos, because there was no Carlos in this episode at all.
But like, I think we also got 4 episodes of that.
True, I agree.
Which
yes, we did get quite a few.
Carlos.
There is never too much, but we can't like.
But we also got some last episode too, so it's not like, again, never too much.
Next episode, Carlos. Guys. Next episode.
Oh yeah, we will get some next episode. I am sure of it.
Yeah. I really like hearing people's different thoughts about this episode. So yeah. Somebody like all they said was weird. Weird. And I'm like, yeah, I took it.
Okay, but like a bad weird or a good weird?
I don't know. Like, I'm assuming people just thought this episode was weird because like, I don't know. I liked it. Like, it was a good weird in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
If I'm gonna convey that message, I guess. A lot of people somebody was just like, more Carlos, and I'm like, yes, guys, I get it. We didn't get Carlos, we hardly got TK, we didn't get Carlos, we didn't get our couple, but like, come on.
Carlos didn't even like breathe in this episode. We didn't see him at all.
Right.
Which happens, and
I'm fine with that. Like, of course we always want to see our boys, but we're not gonna like suffer if we don't see them
exactly
1 or 2 episodes.
Yeah, exactly. Somebody was like, I'm very pleased that Wyatt is not disgruntled about not having Judd in his life. He's happy now, which I like, because like yeah, like he could have like held it against him, but obviously like he knows that his dad had no idea of his existence, so he can't really hold anything against him when he had no friggin' idea for 17 years.
He doesn't seem like the kind of person to hold a grudge. Just
No.
That doesn't seem to be the vibe I'm getting off of him.
Yeah, he seems
yes, it would not fit. It would not be right for him to hold a grudge when Judd had absolutely no idea.
Right, yeah, exactly. So somebody else said it was okay. It wasn't as interesting as others on Lone Star. Wish others got more screen. Like, I get why people feel that way, but I also like that certain episodes are for certain characters, because I think if they try to jam pack every episode, you're not going to get as much. So if there's a Tarlos episode, we're going to get a lot of Tarlos, we're going to get that. But if they section it out to be a few, like, there's the other characters still in the episodes, but like it's sectioned down to be like, okay, we're gonna get a lot of Judd and a lot of Tommy in this episode. I think it's good because it's just gonna make more sense, and it like gives everybody the time to shine, I guess.
Right. Especially as they have a large cast, so they can't. There's no way that they can focus on all of them in each episode and make it good.
Right. Oh yeah, which is true. Kind of, yes, I don't compare 9-1 and Lone Star in the fact of like certain things. Like I definitely prefer one or the other. That's just my preferences and it's nothing personal. But I think it's not fair to compare them in the fact of like 9-1 shows like is able to do this with their characters. Well, they also have less characters, so it's easier.
They do have less main characters.
Exactly.
And they're able to balance the supporting ones easily. Quite frankly speaking, the 126 has more main cast. Lone Star has more main cast, because not just the fire station, which automatically has more people, but also they have like Grace, they have Carlos, they're balancing more. Yeah. So
exactly my point. Somebody said really interesting, and somebody else said loved it. I wish we saw Carlos, but we saw them a lot last few episodes, so it's nice giving other people a chance to have more screen time, which I definitely agree, because
exactly what
that exactly proves what we were trying to say, because yes, we always want Tarlos, but like we're also only 6 episodes in, still have a whole lot more,
and like 5 of those episodes had some degree of Tarlos, even if it was just hints about the breakup and stuff. Right, we were getting Tarlos. So
yeah, and I didn't get TJ's final review, but we talked quite a bit about the episode, so I can kind of just give that. But basically how I feel, like it was good. Was it like amazing? No. Am I gonna jump up and down about the episode? Absolutely not. But it was good. It was weird. We kind of talked about, I kind of would have rather had a Valentine's Day episode and stuff. Like that would have been nice, but I'll take what I can get.
All good thoughts.
Yeah, definitely.
Pretty much summarized.
I'm excited for the next few episodes though. So like, yes. So 307 next week, which is the Red versus Blue episode, which is so excited for that. So the promo. So we have like Carlos telling Owen that a 17-year-old kid took his parents' car for a joyride and the passenger was ejected, and Owen's just like, not much joy there. And I mean, yeah, true. That isn't joyful. And then we have I believe he's a police sergeant telling Owen that he has to back up his truck because he has backed up for a whole 2 miles, and it's like, this is a car accident. What do you expect?
It's a car accident. It's a fire truck in the middle of a street blocking traffic while they're dealing with an accident. It's not like they're just legal. Out there partying for the fun of it. Yeah,
I think that's all legal. Like I think
freaking sergeant tickets him for it.
And what does he do? What does he do? Rip it up, as he should. But I love it because slightly before he rips up the ticket and we get the mention of the ticket, Tommy, TK, Nancy, and Carlos are standing there behind watching, and Tommy's just like, this is not going to turn out great.
Right.
And of course he rips up the ticket, and then we have Judd, TK, and Carlos at the 126, and Judd says, oh, police don't like us. And After that scene ended, I'm assuming this is what's gonna happen in this scene. Is TK and Carlos gonna look at each other like, okay,
Uh-oh.
like people, the one thing I don't like that's being dramatized online is people being like, oh, I hope that doesn't cause problems for Carlos. Are you kidding me? That is the most bullshit thing ever.
It's not gonna cause issues.
They're gonna get some razzing for, dating outside of the fire department or the police department, but it's just gonna be, yeah.
I don't even think they're gonna even I don't think that even will be addressed. Maybe it will be hinted at, but I honestly don't even think it's gonna go there. I think this is people that are just trying to dramatize everything. It's it's not it's really not that serious. This is one bad, this is a guy that probably thinks he knows everything or thinks he's a hotshot, which, man.
And I recognize the actor who plays him. He's been in a lot of stuff as an extra character. So I'm he usually comes in and plays kind of the pain in the keister person.
Yeah. The thing with this is that we've seen photos that makes it look like Carlos is on the sidelines for the thing. So A, I don't like that people are saying that we're going to get a ton of drama, and B, I don't like people saying that TK is going to get hurt. Where have we gotten evidence that he's going to get hurt? Nowhere. People are just pulling things out of thin air, pulling things out of their ass. Why don't you maybe use your brain for once? I'm sorry, but it's true. Come on. People, the second we get episode descriptions, the second we get photos, people freak out. They say these stupid things that make no sense. And here we are. We're just where did that come from? I mean, it's every few episodes, everyone's someone's gonna die. At least that's what was happening with 911 all the time. It's the same for every show I've watched. People just freak out about the stupidest things, and I'm can we just wait just until we see the episode, chill out a bit? Yes, I freak out when things happen too, but not to that extent. You freak out when you have evidence of that gives you something to freak out about. We have seen nothing to support any of this. But then there's the voice of it's will it put lives at risk, and it's just okay. And then there's Marjan, Paul, and Judd in front of the fire truck at the station, and Owen saying how this is worse. See, this is the thing about Owen goes to extremes, so that's gonna happen this episode. That's just who he is as a person, which isn't totally a bad thing some of the time, but it's gonna be interesting. So the issue with the whole ticket thing, when it comes to emergency vehicles, laws are different, and they are actively assisting a car accident scene. Right. And okay, I am not a police officer. I do not know the exact rules, but that strikes me as I can even ask some people that I know that are active or former cops, but I believe they're completely different rules when it comes to emergency vehicles. So I would expect that mistake out of a rookie who's trying to fulfill the required amounts of tickets that they're supposed to give out in a month. I wouldn't expect it out of a police sergeant. So I know. So if they're in the middle of an emergency situation, they have kind of free reign, but it's, because, around here, the fire department, the guys will take the truck to the store to go grocery shopping for the crew or whatever. So they don't park in the fire zone unless they're in an active emergency. Right. So this, I don't understand this sergeant who's you're blocking traffic. Well, who freaking cares? It's an accident. And, you know what? If they're blocking traffic, then they're probably in the lane that they also need blocked off. Yeah. Because, people can find a different route. It's not that hard. Right. And also, I know around here, we know, if we hear there's a fatality accident, we can pretty much guess that the traffic's going to be backed up for hours because they have to do the investigation. So again, this was a fatality, it looked like. So they need to bring the coroner in and all that stuff. So And here is the deal. Even when only one lane is blocked or something, traffic is still blocked because you know why? People have to look when they drive. Mm-hmm. They are oh, what happened? So they're peering the looky-loos out, and they're driving slow. It drives me crazy. They're driving slow, And of course, they're driving slower anyway because people automatically slow down when they see cop cars around.
Right.
Because they're like, oh, we're doing something terrible, even if they were only driving like 5 or 10 over the limit, which typically you don't get pulled over. To my understanding, you don't typically get pulled over unless you're going more than like 10 over the limit.
Yeah.
But again, it depends on if they're trying to fill their ticket quota for the month.
Exactly.
But,
and rookies are more worried about that because they're still trying to like establish themselves. Right. So that's why I was saying rookie cop, I could see them making that mistake. Police sergeant who has worked tons of accidents and he's flipping out of one fire truck and an ambulance. Probably more. I didn't see the promo, but there were probably more stations there.
So this is the vibe I'm getting. I'm getting that he seems like he's a hot shot, which I've seen a few of those in some form of life.
In any, especially in any emergency capacity, there are people that think they're hotshots. There are people that think they're gods.
Yeah, and he also gives the vibe that he might, I don't know, he seems a little crooked, like he fights with everyone. So that's kind of the vibe I get with him. And then of course they're at a fire, and we see Mateo hosing outside, but then Owen's into the fire. And Judd's like, this is like kind of one of the things Judd's saying is like, they're first responders just like us. And I'm like, it's probably from the same original scene. They're just using it for overlay, because then we end with Owen and possibly the cop intervening, or he is in the fire and he shouldn't be, and Owen's telling him to get out and he's saying no. We also know that like Owen gets like injured in some sense in this video, which doesn't seem major, but it's definitely something with his hand. So I'm thinking like burn or something.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Like it doesn't look severe. That's why I'm saying like it's probably something like that and stuff. But also we know that this is like the softball episode, which everyone had been saying for months, which was pretty obvious. Like
and the synopsis said something about Owen is rivalry with this police sergeant. They decided to take it to the softball field or something like that.
And now I'm just interested to see how they reach this. How do they reach this whole conclusion thing?
Yeah, which I'm excited for, like, and stuff. Because in other, like, firefighter-ish shows I've watched, I've seen similar things to this, but not like this. So I'm really excited. I've also seen, like, this in other shows just in general, but, like, I'm excited for this version of it because I haven't seen it like this. And I really like some of the pictures. Like, honestly, I think the stills for the episode were more interesting than promo. The promo really did nothing for me.
Right. Same
and
here.
Stuff. But the whole, like, there's lots of theories, like, right now, as there are for every episode, but for this episode especially, because everyone wants Carlos to be, like, in the game as well. But it's like, honestly, I don't really want that, just for the fact that, like, I want to see Carlos be on the sidelines. And also, like, it's just like the fact that everyone's assuming he's gonna be in the game and assuming this guy is a sergeant. He's a sergeant. He could be there. You know how many sergeants there in the police department? A ton.
This does not have to be his.
Exactly. That's exactly my point.
And also that's the same thing with like who's playing in the game. There are a lot of cops. Okay?
Yeah, exactly.
That could be anybody.
Exactly.
So I'm actively hoping Carlos is not playing. And according to the one still we got on the sideline, I don't think he is. Now that could have been a practice thing.
Yeah.
But still, I hope he's not playing. I don't think he is. We're gonna see. But I actively hope he is.
Yeah, and I know there was a picture of Natasha had posted of her and Rafa, and he had a tan jacket on, but his shirt was covered up by the jacket, and he had a hat on. It didn't look like the hat that the police seemed to be wearing. So he could be playing, he could not be playing. I don't know, and it doesn't matter to me.
He may have even bowed out as being compromised because he has a fire department boyfriend.
And we don't know his history. He might not be good at sports. We don't know.
Exactly.
And so, like, the only thing I can joke about is seeing the pictures of, like, I think it was Brianna holding a bat. So Nancy holding the bat. And I think there's one other person that was holding a bat.
Okay.
And and so my friend was like, she specifically pulled up the Nancy one, but she used to play softball, and she's like, I don't know who was on set telling them how to hold a bat. But she's like, that's not how to hold it. I'm like, yeah, I'm not the only one that saw that too. Because like some of them were not holding the bat properly.
Yeah,
So here's the thing. I don't like any form of baseball, softball, any sort of thing like that. I've always just found the game boring.
Yeah.
I watch football and that's about it. So I'm just like, I have no idea what they're doing right or wrong.
Yeah, I like, well, definitely more of a football soccer fan, but I used to help out our church's softball team by taking score for them. So I know a little bit about softball. But yeah, I have a friend who used to play it. She's like, they're not playing it right.
Yeah,
But,
which their pictures, like you really can't
okay.
get much from it. Like
Exactly.
like it's not like it's just not one of those things. But I love like what one of my friends said about like it, like when people were like, is Carlos playing? Because he's just like, I really don't think Carlos is in the game because the show would not let us have Carlos in baseball pants. It's too powerful. And I'm like, yeah, you got a point.
True. I mean, they already make us psych out with all the shirts he wears because biceps.
Right.
But biceps,
Carlos-
chest, basically all of his upper torso because that man is fine.
That man would make a trash bag look attractive. Come on.
Oh, exactly. Wear a fucking potato sack. Like,
yes, but I am so excited for this next episode and the one after. But of course, we'll talk about that next week.
I don't even know the play of the one afterwards.
We can talk about it after.
Here is me. I watch it when it happens, and I'm so out of the loop for a lot of things.
I'm like so invested with everything. So I like literally I look up everything.
You know what? We balance each other out.
Exactly. We keep you in the loop. So that's
you do everything.
Matters.
I do nothing. I just talk and watch and enjoy. That's it.
Nothing wrong with that.
Thank you guys so much for joining us and listening. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on Anchor. As usual, we are also on Spotify, Apple and Google Podcasts, and just about anywhere where you can find podcasts. On iTunes, please rate us and leave us a review. It always means a lot to us. You guys can follow the podcast on our socials at 911LS Roundup on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We also have our Discord server, and the link is in the description of this podcast and also in our Instagram bio.
You guys can follow me, Katie, at ForLoveOfTarlos on Instagram and at ForLoveOfTarlos on Twitter.
You guys can follow me, Grace, at RonanRafa911 on Instagram and at SheepGirl31 on Twitter.
You can follow me, EJ, at EJ8302 on Instagram and Twitter.
Bye.
Bye.